Well, another week in the NFL, another pair of losses. But guess what? At least the Yankees are still alive. All that and more on the sports section. And it starts, of course, right now. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the sports section, Long Island's longest-running call-in sports program. Tonight, the callers are the hosts, but we do have to do a little technical correction here. So we're going to pause the broadcast for just a second, and then we come right back to you. Just a sec. Gotcha.
Perfect. Okay, so we're back at zero now, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, let's all mutually agree it was not a fun weekend. It was nice out. That kind of was a decent consolation prize from Mother Nature, but really it was just a terrible weekend for New York sports and for Stony Brook sports. And I guess we got to start with the latter of the two first, right?
Well, for the Seawolves, this was a game where, the Seawolves look at Fordham on the schedule and have in the past where they could pencil in a nice non-conference win. They are hosting at Laval Stadium, and nice crowd, beautiful day, and it ended right there.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I don't think the stage could have been set any better for them, and that because of that, I'm really disappointed in them. I mean, I'll always love my Stony Brook guys, right? I'm very biased on account of me being a Stony Brook student. I've got nothing but school pride. But
as we all
boy, am I upset. Am I really upset with their performance? I mean, first of all, has there been a better weather day thus far than last Saturday?
Nope.
I mean, in 2021, right? 78 degrees out, a little bit of a fall chill. Oh, beautiful. Kenneth P. Laval Stadium.
Maybe the spring games, but that's not very fair.
Maybe. But since then, I mean, they're they had a perfect day to show out. And then it was against a team who, when they last faced them, they beat them 45-10. And the time before that, 28-6.
They pushed that start time back an hour because the Fordham bus broke down en route to the game.
That's right.
I mean, literally,
you
couldn't go the setting couldn't be any better for Stony Brook.
Right. I mean, I was running late. Wow. I was upset. I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. The Statesman relies on me to be here at 3 and I'm here at 3:20. God, I'm so stupid.
And you still beat Fordham.
Yes, I did. I beat Fordham. I watched Fordham come in. Yeah. And, speaking of Fordham coming in, their quarterback, Tim
Demorat.
Demorat is the last name, right? Or Demonit?
Yep.
I wrote a whole article about him less than 24 hours ago, and I've already forgotten his name. But Demorat, 2 games played. They're 0-2. He had 2 touchdown passes, 5 picks. 2 touchdowns, 5 picks coming into this game, and I think had completed a little over 50% of his passes. He'd been horrible. That whole team had been horrible. And again, as we just said, last 2 times Stony Brook Stony Brook played Fordham, 45-10, 28-6. So yeah, Matt, as you said, they could pencil in a nice non-conference W. The scene is set. You get an extra 45 minutes to rest. Beautiful day out. Not a packed stadium, right? Not as packed as the home opener, but still a decent crowd. And boy, did they leave their whatever is at home. I don't even know what it was. I don't know what the real legitimate reason for their bad performances, because they didn't have a bright spot. With the exception of Sabanaket, they did not have a bright spot. Nothing went right for them. The game began competitively, right? I mean, the problem is they say a turnover on the first play from scrimmage is a bad omen. Well, what happens if it happens before the first play from scrimmage? Right? I mean, opening kickoff gets bobbled. So that right there, bad sign. Okay, he recovers, fine. He kind of hits a hole. Oh, he's gonna turn nothing into something. Fumbles. Just immediately, Fordham begins the game with the ball at the Stony Brook 28-yard line, and promptly they
interrupt this
scored.
program.
What was that?
To bring you an important announcement from Fenway Park. Aaron Judge got a foul tip on strike 3, and the catcher drops it on the transfer, probably would have won a challenge for strike 3. So he gets a free pitch. What does he do? Into the left center field gap, 2-run score. Yankees lead 4-3.
Sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good.
I think that's
exactly
a perfect example for, again, comparing both the Yankees Red Sox game we were talking about and how Stony Brook played yesterday, where there was, forget luck, there was no luck. At times it looked like there were no skill on that Stony Brook side. As you said from the very beginning, again, this was a hand-wrap win in Stony Brook's favor. All they had to do was play the game and put in a decent performance.
Right.
And literally on the first play, they proved they couldn't even do that.
No,
fumbling the ball. 5 plays later, giving up a touchdown with Demora finding Carter for the touchdown.
Right. I mean, they couldn't even secure the opening possession. Right. So that's a bad omen. However, of course, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, right? And really, it's just one play, and they still had however many minutes left in the first quarter, right? It was just 7-0. It wasn't like they're not capable of scoring 7 points, right? So they get the ball right back. Now it's their opening possession, and they go right down the field. I think they started with how many run plays in a row? Like 9? I mean, Tyson Lawton, remember I called that, I named the Player of the Week award the Tyson Lawton Player of the Week. He was well en route to winning his second Tyson Lawton Player of the Week award. Sabanakhet, every time he touched the ball, something good happened. Tycall Fields, obviously, you know, when he takes off, he's perhaps the best runner on the team. Those 3 combined to lead the team all the way down to the 20-yard line. And then on the 20-yard line, Tycall Fields hit Niket on a wheel route for a 20-yard catch and run touchdown. That tied the game. And all of a sudden, Stony Brook's right back in it, right? We got a ball game. That, you know, we've already forgotten about the opening kickoff. It's behind us, water under the bridge, 7-7, brand new ball game. Fordham comes back out. Defense forces a 3-and-out. As a matter of fact, the defense might not have been a 3-and-out, but the defense got a huge play. Big sack from Mekhi Smith. Looked like a strip sack at first. Stony Brook recovered it. Of course, it was overturned. The quarterback's arm was coming forward. Still, though, forced a 4th and 14, forced a punt, got good field position, and drove to the Fordham 27-yard line. This is where they just stopped playing football. This is just where they stopped playing football. False start. Now it's 1st and 15. Dropped pass in double coverage. Perfect throw by Tycall Fields to Khalil Newton. Dropped it. Now, here's where I really got upset because this was a recurring theme of the night. 2nd and 15 in the shotgun formation. Chuck Priore decided to run the football. I get it, ground chuck. You don't want to abandon your game plan too early, right? But 2nd and 15, you're going to line up in the shotgun. You might as well throw the football. Even if you're just going to run a little running back screen, right? Something that they don't do too often. I would like to see them actually use the screen game more. But anyway, handoff to Niket, loss of a yard. Next play, 3rd and 16, sack, loss of another yard. Now it's 4th and 17. And, you know, you don't really have a reliable kicking game. And even if you did, I'm pretty sure 4th and 17 from the 34-yard line, that's like a 52-yard field goal. I don't think anybody's kicking a 52-year-old. Listen to me. A 52-yard field goal. Did Giancarlo hit a 2-run homer?
That's right.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Making 6-3 game. But
yeah, it gets better. It gets better, guys. Because one thing I forgot to mention was that prior to the dropped strikeout pitch, Judge hit a foul ball to the right side that Dahlbeck just missed, just short of his glove, just beyond his glove, I should say. And
see, Matt, what did I tell you?
Right on the heels of this, now it gets even better yet. Because what happened was Judge slid head first into second base and jammed his pinky. They bring the trainers out and stuff like that, tape his fingers up, and then Stanton hits a home run. Not only does he hit a home run, but he hits it almost as far as he hit the grand slam.
Nice.
So he hit it out of the park in the Lansdowne Street in the beyond the signs and everything into the night. And he's been crushing it. 3 home runs and 10 RBIs this weekend.
Yeah.
Player of the weekend, no doubt.
We've got we've got a whole second hour to talk about Giancarlo.
I know.
When he's hot, he's amongst the most
by
dangerous
then the game
hitters
hopefully
we've
will
ever
be
seen.
over.
You'd hope.
Now.
You'd certainly hope. Yeah. Does Giancarlo Stanton win Tyson Lawton Player of the Week?
He does it for the week. If the Yankees hang on to win this, absolutely.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna combat that. I'm gonna argue Alyssa Francesa. We'll talk about in a few minutes. She had a hat trick today. Very hot Stony Brook women's soccer team. Off to a great start. Hot start. 4 straight wins. Unlike a lot of the other teams we're going to be talking about, they managed to actually find the victor circle today.
That's right. And, we mentioned 2 weeks ago when they were struggling in that non-conference part of their schedule, this was all by design, right? They just wanted to play some powerhouses, really iron sharpens iron, get ready for the conference part of their schedule. Well, here we are in the conference part of their schedule, and they can't be stopped, as we expected they would be. So,
and
anyway.
We bring that up just to compare it to, again, the Stony Brook Fordham game. Stony Brook, in theory, does the same thing, going up against the 4th, now 3rd best team in the nation against Oregon. They come off that, and you expect them, hey, we're going to see something different from this team. Nope. The differences we saw were not all that positive. And a big reason for that, like we brought up with the Stan home run, is that unlike the Yankees right now, when Stony Brook had a chance, more often than not, they couldn't capitalize. And part of the reason was because they kept getting in their own way.
Yes.
This team did not, I think, have the character to – obviously, they didn't have the character and the ability to capitalize and convert on the chances that, again, were essentially hand-wrapped to them.
No, that's absolutely right.
Feet.
Wow.
I mean, when – that drive I was just talking about before I totally disrupted the flow of time to talk about Giancarlo's. Right. Well, right. It's Giancarlo's fault.
The Yankees are doing it.
Okay, but I'm responsible for my own words, and I disrupted the flow of the universe, so it's my fault.
True.
Okay. All right.
But
anyway. Right. So, but that drive
with the Seawolves.
Right. That drive.
Not only.
Go ahead.
You finish with the drive because I'm going to put a cherry on everything. But go ahead.
Okay. So that drive where they drove to the 27-yard line, tied 7-7, and then went backwards on 4 straight plays. That was the last time we really ever saw them in the game. Because then after that, you have a chance to pin them deep from the 34-yard line. You punt it into the end zone for a touchback. Okay, and the special teams was brutal all day long. In that first quarter alone, lost fumble on the opening kickoff, block in the back on the first punt return. They had the ball at the 40, but instead had to start at the 30 because of that block in the back. And then this touchback, they got no help from special teams. Okay, and now the defense. Later in the second quarter, special teams does their job finally, pins them deep inside the 10-yard line, and the defense allows Fordham to march 14 plays, 91 yards right down the field, like a hot knife through butter. Again, as we said, Demonit, whatever his name is, sorry, Demorit, thank you, Ken. Didn't even bother memorizing your name, dude. 2 touchdowns, 5 picks coming in just 2 games. 21 of 33, 280, 4 touchdowns, no picks to 3 different receivers.
That's part of the other issue too, is that, again, Fordham necessarily by themselves didn't have a very memorable game. I say that because statistically, you just look at the statistics.
Oh yeah, Stony Brook outgained them. Yeah, Stony Brook
outgained Fordham 426-385. On the pass, Tykel had a better game through the air, which he rarely does. 250 to 218. On the ground, obviously, Stony Brook controlled it there, 173-105. Heck, even third downs, the defense held Fordham to 50%. While they converted 11 of 17. And time possession, obviously, Stony Brook had 36 minutes. Had the ball for 36 minutes. So they controlled a lot of the ball. Probably despite that, they didn't control any of this game.
That's right. And but the thing is what you were just summarizing, there was a lot of up and down there. Like the defense held them to 50% on third down. They didn't hold them to 50% on third down. 50% on third down is bad for a defense. You want your defense under 30, under 40%, under 30% is incredible.
That's true, but
so
it's a lot better than the red zone defense.
That's right. I mean, 4 for
100% of their opportunities.
Exactly. No, the defense was just inefficient. I mean, no takeaways against this team. None. They spread the ball around like it was Sam Darnold and his Carolina Panthers. They made a bunch of no-named guys, still no-named, but look relatively solid. I mean, like, the Panthers have Brandon Zylstra and Chuba Hubbard, a rookie, and Tommy Tremble, a rookie, and they're just spreading the ball around all over the place. That's what Fordham was. That's exactly what Fordham was at Laval Stadium on Saturday.
And again, it's something against those players. It's just
it's nothing against those players. They're D1 athletes. They're obviously good athletes. It's just that these guys are not stars, and Stony Brook had no answer for them. No answer for them.
Because the previous meetings against Fordham looked like a D3 team.
That's right.
I think it's a bit harsh.
But
they didn't look great.
Roles were kind of reversed yesterday.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Oh yeah. Oh, and the game was not even as close as the minus 17 implies, right? Because they lost 31-14. Trust me, it was not that close. Trust me, it was not
45-10 again.
No, oh my God, yeah, you'd think it was 45-10 or 28-6. It was not a good performance whatsoever. Now, again, the only bright spot, every single time Sabonaket touched the ball, something good happens. Because guess what? My man Tyson Lawton, Mr. Player of the Week, inaugural name guy, whatever, I don't know what the title would be. But the guy who I'm naming that Player of the Week award after, he got hurt. That's why he came out. 7 carries, 42 yards. They could not stop him. He was already averaging 6 yards a pop, and he went down. That's not good for them. So their foundation is their running game. If their best player in the run game, which is also their best player overall, if he's not there, what are they? Because they're not a vertical team, right? They can't go vertical. They can't do that. So
they're a team who will not manage to get a win in CAA competition. That's the team I saw out there yesterday. And it's harsh to hear, but this is a team that eked out 2 victories the last full season they had. And in the average season, they had a dominant win against UAlbany and lost the other 2.
But we always have a dominant win against UAlbany. That's what we do.
not a couple years ago where they hit that incredible field goal, the ugliest field goal I've ever seen, and managed to win. But
okay, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So
Yeah, but you never saw D3 field goals. Oh boy!
Oh, that one definitely gave it a run. That UAlbany one gave it a run for its money for sure.
I've seen high school extra points, so
that one gave it a run for its money.
Those ones are bad.
We'll check that on Twitter again. But just this team, I just don't see them faring well in CAA competition.
I don't either.
I did before the game. I thought they'd be more competitive for sure. They have depth, which is something they've been missing the past couple of seasons. But the way they performed was just not up to standard for the Stony Brook program.
It was just disappointing. That's the best way to say it. Was just a real disappointment. Go ahead, Matt. I don't mean to keep cutting you off.
Up until now, even though they were 1-2 in their first 3 weeks, one of those losses, of course, came to Oregon. And during the breaks, I was saying that, hey, when New Hampshire, who Stony Brook lost to Pitt 77-7 or some crazy number like that.
Yeah, UNH.
It tells you something. It tells you something that how the Seawolves were able to perform against the number 4 team in the country.
Right.
Yeah, it got away from, as it usually does in these situations in the second half. But all 3 games were good efforts at the very least.
Exactly,
okay?
yeah.
You couldn't accuse them of playing below their talent level.
No.
One of my pet peeves, if you ever saw my recent Facebook post about it, I would say people would complain. Like, remember when Javi Baez complained about Met fans booing?
Mm-hmm.
And my answer to that was that New York fans only boo when they feel that the team is playing below its talent level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an accurate description.
If you think we're bad, the Red Sox were getting booed pretty loud. I bet you if I had the audio on this game in front of me, there'd be a few boos in there.
Well, the difference is Boston fans get homophobic and anti-Semitic and racist, and that's the key difference. That's the key difference between. Too. Yeah, I was going to say Philly too.
The one thing I will say is that New York fans are passionate, but there are cities where fans are more passionate, absurdly so.
Oh yeah.
So. Anybody who complains about New York fans being tough, well, first of all, you played for the Chicago Cubs, even though they did win in 2016. You go to Wrigley Field for the experience. The winning's a bonus if the team is good. Okay? You go to Yankee Stadium to watch your team win. There's a difference. And the same applies, I think, in New York in general, because Met fans, even though the team has not met expectations, do expect their team to try to win. And it gets even worse when the Yankees do win. It rubs it in. But the whole point here is that today or yesterday, the Stony Brook Seawolves, and I think we could all share the argument because we all saw it with our own two eyes, play below their talent level. And that is a disappointment. Even if they lost 31-28, we would have shrugged our shoulders. Okay, Fordham's good this year. Okay, fine.
No, I
If they take that effort into Rhode Island this coming week, they're going to get stomped on.
Oh yeah. And I wrote an article. It's not published yet. It's being published tomorrow on the Stony Brook Statesman if anyone wants to go check it out. But I wrote an analytical review on the football game. So it was different. It was more statistical based and just how this game went and why they lost. Here are the key stats showing why they lost, whatever. There was no quotes or anything like that. But I pointed out so this is how it had to go, right? Because I wanted to be objective, and to me my article started looking like a hit piece because there was so much negativity in it, because that's all you could take out of this was negatives. So I had to devote a paragraph to the positives. Okay, but the way it's formatted is there's one paragraph offensive negatives, one paragraph defensive negatives, one paragraph special teams negatives, one paragraph all positives combined. And they're about the same length. So that should show you exactly how bad they were, right? Like also, if I could combine all the positives into one paragraph, but I had to divvy up the negatives into 3 paragraphs, that's bad, right?
Yeah,
and again, I mean,
if
special
you had to
teams.
Puff up the positives. Saban Weather was good.
Exactly. Saban Niquette was good. The offense was great on third down. 11 of 17. You don't lose when you go 11 of 17 on third down. Okay? You're not supposed to. 36 minutes time of that's 60% of the game you had the ball in your hand.
426 yards.
Yes. Well, that's a could be a garbage time stat. I mean, they had a couple of longer drives, like the one that ended with the interception in the end zone. Those ones were long drives that kind of boosted their total yards statistic up. But still, I mean, it should be noted, too, these stats are misleading, right? Stats are for nerds is a common saying. I don't think that's totally true. I think that stats do tell a story most of the time. They are pretty telltale.
They definitely do in Rhode Island's case.
Right. But Tyquell Fields, 21 of 31 passing, right? That's 68%. Trust me when I tell you, that doesn't mean he was accurate throwing the football. Okay. Yes, I didn't think he played a bad game, but I wouldn't give him like a B minus. I'd give him maybe a C minus. He took too many sacks that were his fault. The offensive line was not good, and he was sacked 5 times, but there were several sacks that he took in which he has to get rid of the ball. and he tried being Superman, and he went down. That's not good. There were a couple of passes he completed to wide open receivers, but he hit them too low, or he hit them on the back shoulder, and it forced them to make a harder catch, so it didn't allow them to run after the catch. And what could have been a 15, 20-yard play was an 8-yard play. Okay? That's where accuracy matters. That's the difference between Tom Brady and Dak Prescott, right? Tom Brady is precision accurate. Dak has good accuracy numbers. I'm pretty sure he's got a 65 or 64% career completion percentage. But Dak, a lot of times, hits the receiver on the back shoulder instead of the front shoulder. And, you know, it kind of, it takes away from what the play could have been. That was big in Tykel Fields' performance on Saturday. And then, of course, there was the horrible drop on what I called the turning point drive, you know, when they got to the 27 and then went backwards. Huge drop by Khalil Newton there. And then later in the game, Tykel, his best throw of the game, this was incredible, like pressured by 3 defenders rolling out to his right, 3rd and 6. Desperation heave to the end zone, and he put it on the money. Nice defensive play, but Khalil Newton could have helped on, and he didn't. Right? That was a bad play too. So
it's actually, I know you're ascribing Stony Brook, but I feel like this applies for every New York football team.
Right? Oh my God,
Jets,
yeah.
Giants,
yeah.
Like, especially about Tykel, and it's sad. You know, it sounds the similarities between him and Zach Wilson on the Jets, or even Daniel Jones the past couple of weeks. But for Fields, too, these issues aren't new. As good as Fields is on the ground, he's had this issue for the past couple of seasons.
Right.
And he hasn't really been able to overcome that.
No.
Limited not only his performances, but the team as a whole.
Yeah.
That inaccuracy, especially going vertical. That's why this isn't a vertical team. And it's such when you know there's a backup quarterback in Josh Zammit who has that accuracy down pat more so than Fields.
Does he? Because he threw 2 passes and neither of them were good. I mean,
not yesterday's game, but
the first pass he skipped behind the receiver, and then the second pass was an interception.
And that's the problem too for why, you know, I did say last week they should really consider replacing QBs if they lose this game. But Zammit did not show that he was ready to take the starting quarterback home either. So you're looking at 2 QBs right now where, you know, the passing game really needs improvement, and I don't have confidence either of them to get it up to the standard that a team, in order to beat a team like URI, who is second, third, rather, in the conference in scoring per game, averaging about 37 points. I know stats are misleading, but this is still a team that's been able to play pretty good in the non-conference schedule and average 3-0 yards. Exactly, and average 260 yards a game.
Yeah.
This is a team that, you know, unlike a Fordham or even Colgate, the one game they won this season, you know, they're not going to give you chances. They're not going to give you many, if any, chances. You got to create those opportunities.
Yeah.
And when Stony Brook beat URI last time, they won because of the opportunities they were able to create. And a lot of that, honestly, was on Tykel Fields. So he's shown in the past he's able to do it. But right now, this team, I really don't have confidence in this team that they're going to get it done because they need to refine a lot of their play on both ends of the field in order to keep the game competitive.
That's right. You know, the secondary is not doing a good job. They are not getting a lot of pressure. They had 1 sack. That can't happen. I get it. Sacks do not tell the whole story of the pass rush, but trust me, in this particular game, it did. They had 1 sack, and that is apt. That is an apt, not misleading total. I don't, on offense, not only do I not quite believe in the quarterbacks, I'm not wowed by any of the receivers. I do like Khalil Newton. After his drops, he made a couple of really nice toe drag catches on the sideline. Obviously, he had the huge week 1 performance. You know, I think he's a good player, but outside of him, they all look small to me. Nobody wows me. And with Tyson Lawton hurt, the quarterbacks, not just the quarterbacks, but everybody in the passing game has to step up. Yeah. I have faith in Sabah Naket to step up, but the offensive line has to keep Tykel Fields upright. The offensive line has to open running lanes to keep them on the field more. The running game only averaged, I think it was 3.3 yards per carry as a team. So yes, they were persistent, but they weren't effective. Okay, and then obviously you have to hold on to the ball when it's in your hands, and you have to hit the receiver in the hands. I mean, it's constant things that just are not happening. They're just not fundamentally a strong team offensively. Defensively, I do think that the defensive line, despite not being a pass rushing defensive line, is solid. The run defense is really good. The linebackers are outstanding. Tyler King, he's a stud, right? Secondary,
he's probably one
figure
of the
it out.
I'll say Tyler King's probably one of the few positives you could bring out, and that he's a freshman. 6 months coming out of Wexford, Pennsylvania. 2-time All-State at linebacker. That guy, especially in high school, was an incredible linebacker. Great pickup.
Yeah,
and he performed. I think he was probably their best performer out of all. Maybe even better than Seba Naket. Not that really mattered in the end.
Nah, Seba Naket, he was definitely the Tyson Lawton Player of the Week. I don't know how long I'm going to keep. I'm eventually one day I'm just going to have to drop the name and just say Player of the Week. But for now, I like Tyson Lawton a lot, so I'm gonna in his honor keep this award named after him because I don't know how much time he's gonna miss, but.
Yeah.
If he's going to miss an extended period of time, again, passing game has to step it up tenfold, not just a little bit, not incrementally, tenfold. Has to step it up tenfold. We need more accurate passes. We need better decisions. We need less negative plays. And I mean, that's that. And in the defense, again, defensive line, run defense is good. Pass rush is not, but maybe there's an in-house solution to that. Maybe they'll get better as the season goes on. I really don't have the answers there. But secondary,
the answers, to be honest.
The secondary, man, we can't put them on notice because it's not like we have that power, obviously. But boy, they better figure it out because they looked horrible. I'm not sugarcoating it. They looked horrible.
They are going up a pretty strong offense in Rhode Island. They started the season 3-0, beat up Brown pretty good in their last game, and Kasim Hill was a runner-up for National Player of the Week a couple of weeks ago. They have a sixth-year quarterback, and they're going to have their work cut out, the Seawolves, because it's also homecoming at Rhode Island. So a road trip, CAA matchup. Of course, all CAA matchups are important. And this, I'm not going to put too much weight on the season. It is only their second game in conference. But this would be a nice time to turn things around.
Yeah. If they could win this game why am I forgetting the word? At a conference rival. There we go. If they can win this game at a conference rival's homecoming, that could flip a huge switch for them. So this is really a big game. This is a big game for Tyquell Fields. This is a big game for whoever has to step in Tyson Lawton's place if he's not good to go. This
Probably
is
going to be Jaden Cook.
Well, if he's not good to go.
Run down their throat.
If he's not good to go. That's, let's put that out there. I don't know how serious the injury is, but anyway,
Tyquell Fields. Defense.
I'm worried about the secondary. The defensive line allows a low yards per carry, so yes, they're allowing a lot of yards per game, but that's because of persistence, and that's because of the fact that they were losing for most of the game, so they were trying to chew clock, they were running the ball more, and not too effectively. It should be noted, too, the defense did not allow a single play over 20 yards in the first half, and then they allowed 5 plays over 20 yards in the second half, including 3 straight 20-plus yard passes, 24, 30, and then a 40-yard touchdown.
Oh, they get bombed.
Yeah, that was in the third quarter. So we'll see.
Now,
and obviously the special teams, yes, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead.
This is what puts us on top. The last time the Stony Brook Seawolves won a home game was the last time they played Fordham in 2019.
See how that all came full circle? See that?
Yeah.
World of sports is a
But
crazy
that tells
world.
you how pathetic the Seagulls have been. Well, look, you're right off 2020. Okay, fine. But you can't even protect the house right now. You have to deal with your next task, which is win on the road at Rhode Island. But you got to solve your home woes. I believe that's 8 straight losses at home, Ken?
Yep, you're straight.
8 straight losses at home. That doesn't happen in football.
No,
You got to protect the house.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You just if you can't win at home, where are you going to win?
You don't want to be the Jaguars of the CAA. That never ends.
No, or the Jets. I don't know. Coin flip. Who's worse?
Well, before we do, though, we have to get into the other kind of football. As Ken mentioned, we'll start with the women because right now they're red hot. And Ken, tell me more.
Yeah, this was a team that had the tough non-conference slate and started to figure out towards the end of that conference slate. And you've seen the effects of that immensely once conference season started. Obviously, last week getting the win and following that up on the road against Vermont. And the interesting thing was, again, I said this team needed to score. Turned to its playmakers like Alyssa Francis. And I think Coach Bischoff, friend of the show, definitely tuned in, heard that, and made it the game plan. Because this week, Francis got her first hat trick of the season, second in her career, and more than doubled her total goals she had entering the morning. 3-0 win for the women's team, 4 in a row. And it was a Stony Brook win from the beginning. I mean, you could just tell that Stony Brook was on that next level. In order to get that 3-0 win, extend the victory streak to 4, first 2 wins American East play. Because Francis and Alicia Diaz, the two of them, were just unstoppable. And it only took 3 minutes for Francis to get on the board off a great cross pass from Alicia and getting it over the keeper. And again, following that up later, Francis was able to get her third score on a long run into the box and was able to really cap out the game for them.
Matt, stop laughing at us.
No. I'm not laughing at you. Trust me, I'm not laughing at you. I am laughing at Tyler Wade.
Tyler Wade
got thrown out again.
I can't believe Tyler Wade ran on that, honestly. You know, you're out the last inning. Why would you run on why would you run again an inning later? And at least he slid this time. You got to give him credit for that. But
I feel so left out. I'm not even watching.
Oh, it's bad. Oh, it's bad. But unlike that base running, Francis got the speed to finish, and she did that again, getting the hat trick. And this Seagulls offense has come alive during the win streak. You know, they have figured out the offensive problem, I think, and big reason again is Alyssa Francis being that playmaker. But for 11 goals in 4 games, multi-goal outputs every game, you know, this women's team is unstoppable right now. And I don't know if any team in the American East can stop them, Mike.
That was a pretty good segue back into to women's soccer, Ken. Good job. But anyway, yeah, I really can't see this team not winning the America East this year. I mean, I don't have much insight to bring to the table on it, really, other than that. I mean, because
it's not. I'll say this: it's not as confirmed. Like, you're not as secure about that as you are women's lacrosse. You know,
right? That's
they
true.
are on completely different levels. Okay, we're not saying women's soccer is going to overtake women's lacrosse as the best team, especially with Coach Spalina signing another 5-year extension, essentially securing another 5 straight years of victories in conference play.
Again, that's true, but I just don't see anybody challenging them. I'm sorry, I just don't. It's not. It doesn't seem feasible to me that they actually don't. Look, we spoke. I know we mentioned it earlier in this broadcast, right? But we spoke about their planned preseason and in the non-conference part of their schedule. And look at how it's paying off.
Oh, yes.
I think that man Tobias Bischoff is a genius. and I think his work is being I just think his genius is being reflected right in front of us right now. And they've got the bullets. Their offense is raging hot.
Mhm.
Like, do you not get how unstoppable they look offensively? They look unstoppable.
They're performing great. Yeah,
Great. I mean,
of-
I think great is underselling it. They look unstoppable offensively. If you can't look, soccer, very low scoring. Okay, so if you can't stop the other team from scoring, how are you going to beat them? How are you going to beat them?
it's just not unless you're firing off more shots and more goals.
No, you're not. Another 3 goals today. It's just
Right.
impractical that they don't win this conference. I'm sorry, it's impractical.
I was gonna say you can never say never, especially in this conference, because Matt and I, especially over the past couple of years, difference. Well, you can take soccer, at least on the men's side. There was a great men's team a couple of years ago that was one and done. I was gonna reference men's lacrosse back in 2019. Heck, you can even say last season.
I was gonna say you could say a couple months ago, but
Yeah, really the last 5 years where they are a tremendous regular season team and can't figure out how to get out of the semifinals. But back to women's soccer, this team, again, is very talented. They're great. I still think they can do better because, statistically still in the middle of the pack in a lot of stuff, exception of wins, obviously, and goals scored. They lead the conference with 5 in conference action. Again, really the only 2 teams I could see matching up to them right now was Hartford and maybe Binghamton, but Hartford especially just because non-conference wise, they scored 18 goals, only allowed 3. I think they got a heck of an attack in just their playmaking and scoring ability as well. Andrea Garcia, a big part of that offensively, but I think goalie wise as well, Maya Perez, coming in, and I think she's had a pretty good, pretty good time in between the pipes. Only allowing 3 goals, as I said, 9 games played. About 33%. So she, I think, has really stood out well. But Emerson Richmond Burke has done a pretty good job as well the past couple of weeks. And this week didn't have to work as hard as last week, but still got 6 saves, 3rd clean sheet. This is a women's team that looks good and is probably going to carry that hot streak through the rest of the season.
yeah, again, I mean, during this 4-game winning streak, they're averaging 2 3/4 goals per game.
Yeah,
Enough said.
They can finish. Yeah, this team knows how to finish.
And of course, just a clean sheet today to boot.
Yes.
So yeah,
that's the big part.
that's right.
Unfortunately, on the opposite side, looking towards the men, they had an opening weekend victory. They were on the other end of the clean sheet. They lost 1-0 to Binghamton. But I
You
still think they
stole my
played well.
segue. I was going to say, speaking of clean sheets, but no, you had to ruin it. So, but yeah, keep in mind, I covered the men's team for the Statesman. So I'm a little more in touch.
Well, you're
yes, I
the
do know
for sure.
That's right. I do know a fair amount about the women's team, but the men's team at this point, I kind of know like the back of my hand. And I know that they're not happy about. Nobody's happy about after losing a game, right? Especially not to. Right. Well, let's not talk about the football team, okay? I saw one of the players today at work, and I felt like telling him that I was there and I saw it, but I'm afraid he's gonna find out who I am and he's gonna hear me saying this stuff. Anyway, so men's soccer, right? Men's soccer, obviously not pleased that you lost to an in-conference rival. Not pleased that you lost your first road game of the conference schedule, right? That would have been cool to start off 1-0 at home and on the road in conference. That sends a real big message. Of course, that is also unrealistic when you're not a great team, because this team is not great. Having said that, this team is good, and I've lost no confidence in them whatsoever. Yes, they lost 1-0. Big deal. Of course, it is a big deal that Binghamton was able to get 3 points, but hey, it happens, right? And this defense is still very good. Only 1 goal per game allowed so far. And we're at the point now where they're 8 games into the season, and so they have equaled last year's total. So now we can finally evenly compare and contrast the 2 teams because it's over the same sample size. And no matter what happened yesterday, they're still light years ahead of where they were just a couple months ago. 5-3 so far, 1-6-1 last year. 1 goal allowed per game this year, 2.13 goals per game allowed last year, right? Shooting way more efficiently, 39% last year, like 42.5% this year. Last year, they allowed a shot on goal more than 50% of the time. This year, opponents are only shooting 9% against them, 36% on goal. Their defense is suffocating. They've rode that defense all throughout this 5-3 start. They have not, with the exception of the Ryder game, they've been in every single game so far. Okay, because, defenses tend to do that for you. In every sport, defenses always tend to keep you in the ball game, except basketball. Well, no, basketball too, actually.
Basketball.
There are other
basketball too, but the thing is, basketball, you can make a great defensive play in basketball, and it winds up meaning nothing. It oftentimes
the offense turns around. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
you see this honestly. I think great comparison would be hockey. Matt is justified that where you see a lot of great defensive battles in a 1-0 game, and honestly, it just comes down to who had the hotter goalie that day.
Exactly.
For the Seawolves, it was Matt Rorida's day, as he was able to hold them to 0 goals, and Kaiser let one in.
That's true.
What
are you going to do? Be mad at Edmund Kaiser? Look at the season he's having. He has been unreal. He won Defensive Player of the Week last week too in the American East. So
and he was the goalkeeper as well last season when they were struggling.
He is above reproach, though. In my opinion, right now, Edmund Kaiser is above reproach. He has been unreal.
I agree.
The whole defense, the whole defensive unit, Corey Cupid, Rondell Payne, the forwards, they've all played, Gabe Fernandez, they've all played really solid, aggressive defense. Okay. And Kaiser has said it's made his job a lot easier. He doesn't have to get 17 saves in a game. That was the exact quote he used. I don't have to go out there and get 17 saves. So
both teams too. They played identical. They had identical stats. But how both had.
Oh my God! Stop doing this to me. I was I was literally gonna say that.
No, I was just saying that to me. I thought was the biggest thing is that quite literally. It was like you're playing against yourself out there.
It was as even-keeled. Yeah, it was as even-keeled the game as they've played all year. I mean, both teams attempted 8 shots. I'm not even reading the stat sheet. I remember this because I wrote the article.
It's scary how on target both teams were.
Exactly. I mean, and the only difference in shot on goal, Stony Brook had 2, Binghamton had 3, but one of them for Binghamton went in, right? Like that's the only difference.
That's the difference between 0-0 and 0-1.
Right, exactly. And when you play a hard-fought, tightly contested game like that and you lose, but you're on the road against a team that was 5-2 coming in, you shake it off, right? You're proud of the effort. You build on what you can build on and you move on because it's not like this was a terrible loss. Yes, it's disappointing that Binghamton got 3 points. Oh, well, move on.
You do have to move on, but at the same time, it's also something you build on. I think that's a loss to keep in your back pocket where you potentially face this team again.
Yeah.
And to me, this definitely seems like a first-round matchup.
That's right.
Potentially a semifinals matchup. I don't think this is the last time we're seeing these two teams. I think the first round, more likely, we're going to see a rematch of this. And I think that's where you use that experience you gain from the rest of the season and bring it to this contest and have a different approach. So you can have, the better stats. You can have better control, possession. You can really dictate the tempo of the game rather than what we saw a couple days ago where both teams, both teams had the same tempo. So it wasn't like any team was doing anything different, That's really what it comes down to.
Stony Brook got more aggressive in the second half, 2 shots.
You had to after losing.
Exactly. So they attempted, I guess technically they had the more upbeat tempo, right? 6 shots in the second half. None went in, of course. So what difference does it make in the end? But yeah, you're right. This doesn't get filed under moral victory because they're not a bad team, right? Only bad teams have moral victories. But this loss definitely just gets put in your back pocket. It's not going to matter. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not going to matter, but it's not going to hurt. They're in terms of just how they are mentally, they're such a high-flying team. They're all so just the spirits are so high that
this isn't going to derail the season. This is something a couple years ago they lost like this derails the whole season. But this is a different team.
Exactly. Now this team, Gabe Fernandez said the same thing. You know, he in that 2019 locker room, you didn't want to be in the locker room. You didn't want to go to soccer that day. Today, you know, it's just they take it one day at a time. So yeah, they lost yesterday, but I'm sure in their minds they won today. Whether it was practicing or taking a day off, eating healthy, whatever it was, they won today. And they're going to come back next Saturday fully recharged, and I think they're going to win. It's just how it is. They're a good team. Their defense is elite. It's not good. It's not great. It's elite. Their offense is opportunistic. It's way more efficient. It's clutch for sure. That's the best way. Their offense is a better version of like what the Mets offense was in the first half. Remember when the Mets offense, because the Mets offense has sucked all year, but remember in the first half they were so clutch. Like they were down 2-0 the whole game. Then the seventh inning comes around. They score 3 runs. They hold on to win. It's kind of like that. Only it's 0-0 because their defense is so good. It's just, you know, less work is needed to be done by the offense. So yeah, again, disappointing loss. Okay, they'll bounce back. Not a big deal.
To your point too about this defense being a lead, it's actually a fair point because they're actually among the top 50 schools in the nation in terms of goals against average. You know, at 958. You know, this team.
Hey, I don't mince your words. No way. No way.
No hyperbole here. It's quite legitimately one of the better teams in the U.S. and especially in the America East Conference. I think statistically, it's right behind Vermont. Vermont is more of a top 20 defensive team. And New Hampshire, obviously, were ranked. So,
and they had their way with Vermont. Understand this too. Vermont is essentially ranked. They were the highest ranked non-ranked team. They had the most votes. Yes. They had the most votes of the teams who missed. They had 56 votes. Essentially 26. And Stony Brook had no problem with them. No problem. They steamrolled them. 2-0, a goal in the first, a goal in the second, almost a third goal. Really, almost a third goal. I think Jonas Bickus took his time, took just a little too long to get that shot off, and he kind of gave the goalie a chance to recover. But yeah, they dominated Vermont to begin the season at home, as they should. There's another team, by the way, does not struggle with Laval Stadium as their home yard. So yeah, they I think they come back home again. Right? Do they? Who do they play next Saturday? You'd think I know that, but I'm bad at my job, so I don't know that. Hold on. Who are they playing? Yeah. They are at home. That I know.
I have it open. It's Hartford.
Oh, thank God for you.
October 2nd, 6 p.m. At home against at Laval.
D3 Hartford?
Well, yeah. They're not D3 yet, but yeah.
I know.
Yeah. It's still a
some of the seasons
for now.
Right. After some of the seasons they've had across their sports, it's hard pressed to think they weren't D3 already.
No, yeah, but yeah, I mean, they're gonna win. They're gonna be in it all season long. So let's not worry about their 1-0 loss at Binghamton. Binghamton's a good team, 6-2 now, 1-0 in the conference.
See, if there's a fall sport, you're listening in Stony Brook like a lot of you are. There's a fall sport you want to come to Laval to. I think it should be soccer. Both soccer programs are incredibly fun to watch. Men's side, especially, the America East is so competitive right now in the top 3 that, again, a Binghamton, Stony Brook, or a New Hampshire, Stony Brook game, which I don't think they have on the schedule at home, but it's still, this both of these programs are fun to watch. And the men's team in particular, it's not something you really have the opportunity to say.
Yeah. I mean, just think about that, right? I mean, there's Stony Brook. The underdogs coming in, turns out they're good, right? Stony Brook is the surprise team. Then you got Binghamton. Then you got UNH ranked. Then you got Vermont, also very good. Then you got Jersey Tech, who the soccer team also hates. So, there's not an unexciting game on this schedule.
Yeah,
and then Hartford, who, I don't know, I think it's kind of fun beating up on Hartford. I don't know why. They're like the redheaded stepchild of the America East. And Albany. Oh, right. Who could forget Albany? So
the NJIT game, you're going to see that, I think, is going to be the tightest defensive battle of all. You're going to see a lot more sliding in that game. Some guys' cleats may get caught in some other guys' ankles. You may see a yellow card or 2 or 5 thrown. That's going to be a fun one to broadcast.
Yeah, interesting fact, that they've only had 1 yellow card issued since conference play began. So there have been some really let the kids play on behalf of the officials the past 2 games.
Oh yes.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yankees won.
Good for them. So they finished with a sweep. So after starting 0-7 against the Red Sox, that was a 9-1 finish?
9 of the last 12. So the Red Sox, of course, do win the season series. They clinched it in the first half of the season, but it doesn't matter. Okay, the head-to-head will matter. Say, for example, they finished tied for the wild card, and this was mentioned during the broadcast. Then the head-to-head matters, and the Red Sox would get home field.
Yes, that I know.
But because they're both in. Okay, now the tricky part is when teams finish tied and one is in and one is out. Let's say 2 teams tied for one spot, then they'll play it off. Is really the philosophy here. When they're both in, they'll go head to head because it's a waste. They're both in.
That's true. Okay. All right. So now we know. Yeah.
Yeah. But here we
go.
That
was part of the reason. That was part of the reason why we were late to broadcast to you guys. We were trying to figure that out for a couple of minutes.
Well, I wouldn't. The Yankees are in the sense that they're a game above ahead.
Yes.
Yankees are a game above ahead, but I wouldn't say necessarily in. They face Toronto next.
They got to go to Toronto, and then they got the Rays, who have already clinched.
Yeah,
okay,
they're still in the race. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Rays are in the
Yankees. Then they face Baltimore to finish, and then Boston's got Washington in there, mixed in there. So it is interesting because it's like one good team, one bad team for all 3 teams.
Well, not the Red Sox. The Red Sox.
I would say not the Yankees. The Yankees have Toronto and Tampa, while the Red Sox and Blue Jays both face Baltimore.
Tampa is going to be rolling out everybody because the games are utterly meaningless to them unless they're still playing for overall home field, which I don't think they will. They'll probably clinch that in the next couple of days because the Stros are several games behind in that department. But they're nowhere near home field overall. Well, first of all, the All-Star game still determines World Series home field?
No, they dropped that a while ago.
They got rid of that. Okay.
Now it's just pointless. That's basically what the All-Star game is at this point.
Because the Giants and the Dodgers have way better records than anybody. And the Dodgers are on their way to a 100-win wild card.
Yeah.
But
something the Yankees are not unfamiliar with.
Yep, that's true. So here we go.
That's right.
It's a game of musical chairs. 3 teams, essentially, vying for the same spot. Unless, of course, either Seattle or Oakland get really hot, like win out.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I could not imagine.
But hey, I'll say it's not unheard of. I mean, we've seen St. Louis on the NL side come out of nowhere to go on a 13-game win streak. And even today, 16-game win streak. And when their back was against the wall, managed to pull out 3 runs out of their hat in the 9th inning and win against Chicago. A game they really had no right to win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, the Cardinals have played a lot of bad teams, right? They got to play the Mets. They got to play the Cubs a lot, but they swept the Brewers. Imagine
the games they had to.
Imagine sweeping the Brewers. That's impossible.
Unbelievable.
The Brewers have 5 starting pitchers I would trade for.
Yeah, they got depth.
I mean, I don't mean as a Mets fan because obviously I would want DeGrom in that rotation somewhere. I think he's pretty good. But if I were a general manager, there are 5 guys on that Brewers staff that I could, and you only need 5 guys, and there are 5 guys in that rotation that I don't think you could go wrong with. Eric Lauer has a sub-3 ERA, and he's their 5th starter. Yeah. And then they have a good bullpen. Oh, right, I forgot.
I would say in the National League, they, I think, have the best pitching crew in an NL that features Dodgers and the 102-win San Francisco Giants.
And the Dodgers have a sub-3 team ERA.
Yes.
Team.
Unthinkable over the past 50 years.
Oh my God, impossible. Like, you see, yes, am I happy that the Mets missed the playoffs? No, but like, boy, do I like watching baseball playoffs without the Mets in it, because it was
fun.
I was in 8th grade when the Mets won the pennant. I don't remember sleeping during that month, because that's how long it took. It took about 3-ish weeks, the NLDS and the NLCS and the World Series. It was such a stressful time. Fun, yes, but stressful. Now I just get to watch a bunch of high-class teams, all of whom I like, with the exception of the Phillies, who I do not have. I think the Braves are going to win this division. I respect Atlanta, so I hope so. But I'm going to be watching Milwaukee and the Cardinals, who I've always admired the Cardinals, and the Giants and the Dodgers. And dear God, will that be the best postseason I have ever seen?
I was going to say, honestly, before you go, I got to say, I think this is what baseball needs, because especially now, just when you look in the grand scheme of sports, you got football they're going to be competing with, hockey's coming back, it's going to start on time now, earlier than usual, actually, in the middle of October. Basketball, the training camps are going to be starting. There are a lot of exciting teams. Okay, this isn't like a couple of years ago. Remember when the Red Sox won it all, where you knew it was probably going to be Boston or LA, and that's what ended up happening.
Right.
There are a lot of fun teams and a lot of different ways this could go. You look at the NL East, and you have two very subpar, surprising teams: Atlanta and Philadelphia. One of them's going to advance.
Atlanta is they're
going to be Atlanta. Yeah.
Atlanta's only that bad because of the injuries they've had.
Yes.
Like, let's not be like, the Braves are terrible.
Still fun. Yeah, but it's still fun because they made it this far, losing so many of these key guys. Milwaukee, obviously, St. Louis or Cincinnati. It's probably going to be St. Louis, good getting in. But yeah, both of those teams have been very fun to watch all season long. Heck, San Fran and LA, obviously, two 100 teams with an 100-team wild card. It's just insane. And again, the AL side is just as fun too, with the NL East. Virtually, with the exception of Baltimore, all 4 of those teams are still in it as of today. And the Central, we know the White Sox are in. They're going to be fun to watch because they've lived to the expectations, and it's going to be fun seeing who they face. And in the West as well, the surprise of Seattle, there's a resurgence. Could they manage to eke out a wild card spot? It's unlikely, but
even if they don't, what a season. What a season was.
86
they
and
have
70.
to win
I don't
out.
think anyone, even the most hardcore Seattle fans, would have predicted 86 and 70 with 7 games to go this late in the season.
No,
especially that run differential.
Yeah.
That's right.
They're 16 games over 500, and it's not just a slightly negative run differential. It's a hugely negative run differential.
Minus 61.
Oh yeah. No, and what's funny too is like they win seemingly every night, yet somehow their run differential gets worse every time I check.
Take a look.
The only other team in playoff contention of a minus run differential record is the Phillies, and they're probably going to get eliminated in the next 3 days.
And that's because the Phillies suck. Like that. Yes. I'm not mincing my words. The Phillies will only beat bad teams. I'm sure you could check their record. They're probably 81-0 against teams under 500 and 0-75 against teams above 500. Like, that's probably how it divides. And I mean, look, this year in baseball, has it been disappointing for Mets fans? Yes. Has it been tumultuous for Yankees fans? Oh yeah. Matt, how many times this year were you like, yeah, they're going to miss the playoffs? And then how many times this year were you like, yeah, they were going to make the playoffs?
Well,
right. How many times have you
doing
between?
I mean,
you're more level-headed, so maybe you're not the right person.
No.
To ask.
In my case, I definitely have been up and down about this team, but it all centers around one man.
The health of Aaron Judge. Is that where you were going with it? I don't know who's the one man.
Oldest Chapman. Oldest Chapman.
That's where you're going with this.
Killed them 2 years in a row. And I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop with this guy. Because what he's going to do is what he's doing now. Dangling the carrot out. They're relying on him more and more. And then, at the most crucial moment, Jose Altuve hits a walk-off home run and ends their season.
Or Mike Brosseau or whoever, But
exactly.
Right. Well, I don't know, Matt. I mean, what do they say about 3 times and something about a charm? I mean, this could be the time where maybe
he got safe today. That surprised me.
Well,
you know what? I'm starting to become a Red Sox fan with him.
3-run lead, and
with
not
the
to
Red Sox. You see, the whole thing. I'm becoming a Red Sox fan. Before 2004, with the Red Sox, it wasn't if they were going to blow it. It was when. It was when. How.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look. I tell this story. Way back in 1986, I'm watching the game at home. My dad and my brother are hanging out, watching the game. And I call up a friend of mine who's a big Met fan and says, "Do you have the game on?" He says, "Nah, I don't think the Mets have a chance." "You're kidding." Well, first of all, these are the Red Sox. These are the Jim Lonborg on 2 days rest Red Sox. That's 1967 World Series, in case you're wondering. These are the Bucky Dent Red Sox. Okay? These are, I don't know who pitched Game 7 in 75 because they just ran out of pitching against the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to blow it. The question is how.
And then a little roller out on first.
They didn't have DraftKings. They didn't have smartphones. But I should have bet every single penny that I could scrape up and hack into people's accounts and scrape up more, bet everything on the Red Sox losing that game. But, I mean, when the ball went through Buckner's legs, I just couldn't stop laughing.
So many people forget
how I picked it.
Yeah. That is one of the
2003.
Oh,
2003.
My God.
Now, I'm working this game. I am the field producer for ESPN Radio in that game. I'm in the photographer's booth down on the field. And there's a girl who's working for WEEI doing the same thing as me, getting the post-game interview, setting up the post-game interview with the guys up in the booth. Wireless microphone, monitoring. And Joe Morgan's on call. I think it was
John Miller, Joe Morgan.
Who was calling it? I think it was John Miller. But anyway, Joe Morgan. I'm listening to Joe Morgan. Now, of course, inning by inning. Mariano Rivera, inning number 1, mows him down. Yankees fail to score. Inning number 2, Mo gets out of the inning. Yankees fail to score. Inning number 3, Mariano Rivera goes back out again. Yankees come up to the bottom half of the inning. Wakefield on the mound because the Red Sox is scraping the bottom of their barrel too. They bring out Wakefield. And I remember Morgan saying, if Wakefield rolls the ball, in other words, if the knuckleball has a spin on it, it will get hit. And my 2 brothers are in the stands because I had postseason tickets. So they're in the stands. I'm down on the field. And then when Boone hits the home run, I'm on the field when Boone crosses the plate. But that's where it ended. That's where the curse ended because, of course, 2004. 1 year later, I'm watching the freaking Red Sox celebrate on the mound at Yankee Stadium. And I'm like, this is the worst day of my life that didn't involve somebody dying.
Yes. And again, that was really, you're right, because, over the past 15 years since that, it's definitely been the Red Sox who have dominated in the AL East. It's not the Yankees dynasty anymore. Instead, it's the Red Sox winning
dominated
3 seasons. And, obviously,
it's been
maybe overall the Yankees have a better team, but just in terms of World Series, it's been the Red Sox who have been the most dominant team, winning 5
They've
World
won
Series
4 championships.
15 years.
Yes, they've won more championships.
Who's won more?
Dominant means not letting anyone else succeed, right?
No. The stretch of the Yankees from 1996 to 2001, that was dominance.
Yeah, that was dumb.
That's a completely different level. All right, I won't compare it to that.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's what dominance is. Dominance is 4 straight division titles. You know that's dominance. The Red Sox haven't been
4 out of 5.
dominant.
That's 4 championships in 5 years.
Yeah, the AL East has been, the Giants were I mean the San Francisco Giants, obviously. 3 World Series in 5 years. That's dominant. The Los Angeles Dodgers are dominant in their own right? They won the division every year from 2013 to 2020. That's 8 straight division titles.
Look at the Braves.
The Braves
for a decade and a half, they kept winning the division.
The Braves, this year the Braves are going to win their 4th straight division title, So
yeah.
But the American League East has been very competitive. But yes, Ken, I know what you're saying. The Red Sox are the only one who have won a World Series and they've won 2. I'm talking about this past decade. If you go back 15 years, the Yankees did win a World Series. But yeah, the Red Sox have turned themselves around. Obviously, right? The curse of the Bambino is over. But yeah, Matt, you're absolutely right. I mean, it was not if, it was when. And that Game 6, people forget. I was trying to say this earlier. People forget. Game 6 was not what lost the Red Sox the World Series. They lost. Well, that is what lost the Red Sox the World Series.
It tied the series.
That wasn't when they lost the World Series. There was still another game that they blew. Not as hard, but they lost it.
You saw the 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Mets are basically saying, no way in hell are they going to lose Game 7. That was the turning point, without a doubt. Now, theoretically, look, there were 4 turning points in the 2004 ALCS. Okay? Because the Yankees, all they had to do was win 1 of those next 4 games, and it would have been over. Now, the real turning point that really sealed the Yankees' fate, Damon's grand slam in Game 7. That put the game out of reach. But prior to that, could have turned on a dime, could have turned back the other way. And remember, too, the score of Game 3 that year, which put the Yankees up 3-0, was 19-8. It gets better.
Yeah, that's right.
Game 4, and A-Rod just said this in the broadcast tonight. Kevin Millar, not Kevin Pillar, Kevin Millar of the Boston Red Sox. I think A-Rod was standing on first, and Millar was playing first, and Millar said, let us win 1.
Yeah.
Just 1. Okay? Just make it more interesting, more entertaining. Yeah, right. But
I will say that I'm glad we're talking about turning point.
The most dramatic turnaround in the history of the postseason baseball. No question about it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad we are, just because just looking at the Red Sox Yankees this year, there's been a clear turning point, obviously, from the last time.
Tale of 2 seasons.
Exactly. And not even 2 seasons, just within this season alone.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, exactly. The first half of the season where it was all Red Sox, and the Yankees
7-0.
Especially at the end, the Yankees couldn't stop getting in front of their own way. And just this game, as we talked about, just this game alone, the Red Sox had so many chances to win and couldn't get the job done. All you got to do is catch the foul tip, get Aaron Judge out. Drops it.
The Red Sox, as we were talking about earlier in the season, were playing way above their talent level for the first half.
I mean, last year was an accurate representation of them. They are that bad. So this year, didn't they peak at 30 games above 500 before reaching 100 games played? Yeah. So that was extreme. They had no business doing that. And I think they're 10 games below 500 since reaching that, right?
Yeah, now they're 20 over.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, they've come plummeting back to earth as I expected them to. Now, remember what I said about Toronto, because we've done them a huge disservice by not even talking about them. I still believe Toronto is better than both the Yankees and the Red Sox.
But it took them too long to gel.
It did take them too long to gel. And then, of course, they picked a really bad time to lose to awful teams. That was a bad time for that. But the Mets have been done.
The Mets are just incompetent. And we'll get to them in about 5 minutes. Yeah.
I lost my confidence in the Mets on the last day of the first half, right before the All-Star break, when they were up 5-0 against Pittsburgh, and then throughout the course of the game, they ended up blowing the save in the 9th, and they lost 6-5.
Oh, the omens.
And then
The omens.
coming back after the All-Star break, they had another game where they were up 6-0 in Pittsburgh, and then
the same thing.
Lost. Yeah. So I lost my faith in them at that point. So I'm not as disappointed because I've been like disassociated would be a good way of putting it. I've been disassociated for a while. But the Blue Jays are good.
They're really
better than the Yankees, better than the Red Sox. The Yankees
since June, the Blue Jays have the best, just as a team, a batting average. They are number one, better than actually tied with Houston. Both of them were the best batting average. And in terms of just runs and scoring, they are third behind Houston and Tampa. Better than Yankees, better than Boston, better than San Fran, LA. This is a team that looks good on both ends, but especially on offense with Vladdy Guerrero Jr. just lighting up pitches.
1 through 9, there is not a single guaranteed out. 1 through 9 can light you up. And then they got some bench pieces too. And the starting rotation is outstanding. But Marcus
Semien, Vladdy Jr.
Right, exactly.
Offensively.
Just think about this, okay? Of the 3 wild card contenders, and yes, Seattle is technically a 4th, and technically Oakland is a 5th, but they've got to win out, so they're unrealistic. The 3 wild card contenders are the 3 American League East teams who are not the Rays, right? At least in contention, because obviously there's another AL East team, the Orioles, who are effective. They're effective.
They've been done since May. They were already eliminated.
Now, they were mathematically eliminated a long time.
Relegated.
Yeah, they should be
need a Premier League.
They should be dropped to the America East. Like Hartford is being dropped from the America East, so I think Baltimore should take their place. And then I don't know, just let's.
I was gonna say drop them to the SEC, and we'll call up LSU, and we'll have LSU be the third.
Give Matt Sank an opportunity in the American League East. I guarantee you, he could get Stony Brook to win as many games as Baltimore did this year.
What the SAT is?
They won't endure multiple team losing streaks. What was that, Matt?
With the SATs in high school, you get 200 points automatically for signing your name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much the season that Baltimore turned in this year.
Exactly. No, they got a participation trophy.
Exactly.
Their winning percentage isn't even 1/3. Understand what that means. Just understand what that means, please. They went 1-18 against Tampa Bay.
They played bad. They played bad enough. They should get 2 top draft picks, not even the one that they're probably going to get.
The difference between a good team and a bad team is really 1 game in 5. Because if you win 3 out of 5, you're playing 600 ball. If you win 2 out of 5, you're playing 400 ball. And nearly every team in baseball falls between those 2 parameters.
Exactly.
They're below 2 out of 5.
Exactly. They're somewhere between 1 and 2. That's where they are. Yeah. And I mean, yes, the Diamondbacks are too, but I respect the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have it a little harder. They're not a storied franchise. There are people who would like to play for the Baltimore Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles have had some teams, man. So the Orioles deserve their historical respect, but Jesus Christ, they do not deserve any respect on this show for
50 and 106 as of
outscored by 278 runs this year.
Well, they have the identical record at home and on the road at 25-63. That's fun.
Pretty good.
The soccer system of promotion relegation, which several countries use, not just England, but Arsenal, for example, has never been relegated. They've never had a year so bad they were relegated.
Yeah.
In the bottom 3 of the standings, right?
Right, but I'm starting to think Baltimore after losing 115 games in 2018, I think that we should have started considering it. Then they improved drastically and only lost 108 games the year after that.
Well, look at the Mets in their first 6 years of existence.
8.
The 69 team was the first year
they had a winning record.
Yeah, look at this, where they failed to lose at least 90 games.
Yeah, it was their first ever winning season, and they won the World Series. Yeah,
right.
It's funny, if you take out those first 8 years, they're only a little under 500. Like, if they won 104 games this year, it would have been a winning team since that point.
Yeah,
so anyway, that's just a fun fact. But they're going to have to do some deeper digging now next year to get out of that. But go ahead, Matt.
I mean, you could talk about this. You spend the whole 2 hours talking about this. The changing philosophy about expansion.
Yeah.
You could go from the first leagues to really expand that weren't like added to by mergers and stuff like that. It was Major League Baseball, the American and National Leagues, when they pretty much functioned independently. There was a commissioner, but there were also league presidents, and league presidents made most of the decisions on and off field. So the American League was actually first to expand by adding 2 teams in 61.
Mm-hmm.
The Angels and the second edition of the Washington Senators, because the original Senators became the Minnesota Twins. 62, the National League then added 2 teams, the Astros and the Mets. But in neither case was any of the 4 teams given much of a chance to succeed, because the expansion draft was basically scrap heap players. Veterans at the end of their careers, no prospects. Anybody who was any good, the teams were able to retain. So the Mets had some named players on their team. They had Richie Ashburn, who was a perennial all-star, and he had a good year with them. But most of the veterans they got Duke Snyder at the end of his career. They got Warren Spahn at the end of his career. They had a whole bunch of these guys.
Right.
Gil Hodges at the end of his career, and then he became manager.
Mm-hmm.
So all these guys and this team lost 120 games because it was the movie Major League. Worst players, if this guy's dead, cross him off then. That was basically the formation of the original Mets. Now you go almost 60 years now, and the NHL learned its lesson the hard way, because when they added the Washington Capitals, the Capitals still hold the record for worst single-season record in the NHL. They won 9 games all year. Maybe even lower. They won 8.
8, yeah.
Prior to that, the Islanders, their first year, were the worst. Okay. But the Islanders, 7, 8 years later, they win the Stanley Cup. And then 3 more after that.
Mm-hmm.
The Capitals didn't win the Stanley Cup until a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl in their 5th year. I think they were 4-12 their first year.
But
Honestly,
the whole point was the philosophy changed. Now they're saying, in order to establish the team in the new city, you have to give them an opportunity to get good quick. Tale of 2 cities, literally. 1998 comes along. The Rays get added in the American League. The Diamondbacks get added in the National League. Okay. So the Rays crap for the first 20 years of their existence.
Well, they went to the World Series.
Diamondbacks are in the playoffs the following year.
Won the World Series.
1999, and they won the World Series in 2001.
Yeah. And then have not been a shred of that.
Now they've lost 100 games again. Now they're back to where they were expected to be in 1998.
Right. Well, eventually everyone goes back there and then goes back up.
But here's the thing. I remember Randy Johnson going to the Diamondbacks. And, of course, later on Schilling, we know how that worked out.
Yeah.
But Randy Johnson talking post-game at Shea, after having pitched, and he said, people don't understand why I came here. I came here to win. I came here because I felt this franchise had a chance to win. And this was when he first joined them, first left the Mariners.
Yeah.
And nobody expected that, because everybody up to that point expected expansion teams to be terrible. And the pattern had been such. And then look at the Vegas Golden Knights. Basically, you put a team together literally from nothing. I say literally, and I do mean literally in this case. Nothing. Yep. And you're in the Stanley Cup final.
That's true. I think the point I was trying to make before we started just crapping on the Orioles was that the Blue Jays are pretty good. But,
Which is true.
but anyway, yeah, but it's always fun just talking about how bad the Orioles are because it's so destitute. It's historic. Like,
it makes it a little better to be a Mets fan. You swallow an underperforming season.
If you're someone my age, and if you grew up in Baltimore, and of course I've had plenty of chances to talk to people my age who grew up in Baltimore, and you were raised on 420 game winners, you were raised on the best defensive team possibly ever assembled. Okay. Brooks Robinson was one of the best fielding third basemen ever. Shelves full of gold gloves, Hall of Famer, and it just went on from there.
right.
This team, I mean, Fritz Peterson, who was the number 2 starter on the Yankees at the time and won 20 games in 1970, good pitcher. Yankees 1 and 2 were as good as anybody's. The problem is Baltimore had a 3 and a 4. And better fielding behind their pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what separated the Baltimore from everybody else back then.
Yeah, you actually told that story like a while. You told that story at the beginning of the season. I was questioning the depth of the rotation, but anyway, let's get back on track, right? So, 3 teams competing for the 2 spots in the American League wild card, right? And they're all American League East teams. Yankees currently own the top spot. Red Sox currently own what would be the road spot. And the Blue Jays are a game out looking in. Okay, but of the 3 teams, who was the best team up? In order, 1, 2, and 3, best, second best, and worst. Rank the offenses, right? Toronto's the best offense, and Boston is a better offense than the Yankees. Although the Yankees are hot right now, but Boston is a more explosive offense than the Yankees. And then, of course, 3 would be the Yankees. And in defense, I mean,
I think the Yankees
Toronto runs away with it defensively, right? I don't even know how you can rank who's better defensively, Boston or Yankees, because they're like the 2 worst defensive teams in baseball. And then pitching, starting pitching, I mean, Toronto's deeper, right? So they're 1. The Yankees obviously are 2 because Cole and Montgomery at the top. And the Red Sox have absolutely no starting pitching. And then bullpen pitching, again, I mean, the Yankees are 1 there, although they are leaky at times, right? They're volatile. They've blown some huge games this year, but every bullpen does that. It's almost unfair. We're just exposed to it, so we think it's terrible, but trust me, there are way worse bullpens than the Yankees. So,
like the Mets.
No, the Mets have a good bullpen too. Again,
they did.
We see every save they blow. So to us, we keep running tabs on it, and it's they must.
It is hard to win 70 games out of the year to 1-run game.
Yeah, it really is. What's up?
The biggest problem the Yankees have had all year wasn't. Yes, they upgraded their fielding considerably by adding the 2 Italian guys. We already talked about that, Rizzo and Gallo.
If they weren't Italian, they'd still be the worst defensive team in baseball.
But they're slightly better than the worst by adding those 2 guys. But the Mets, the one bugaboo they had all year was that, and the Yankees too, until maybe about a couple of weeks ago, their hitting underachieved.
Oh, yeah.
On paper, both teams had awesome lineups. In April, those lineups looked really, really good.
I would have bet money on the Mets to win 97 games. Yeah, they were that good on paper.
That was before Javi Baez joined.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I wouldn't have expected Javi Baez to make them better. But as it turns out now, Javi Baez was statistically the best trade deadline acquisition, rather, not offseason. But he's hitting over 300. I would have never imagined that, ever. The worst contact hitter in baseball.
Not the way he started.
No, definitely
Exactly. That was a rough 10 days.
Oh, yeah. He needed to get hurt. Apparently, that's
That's secret.
He needed to complain about the fans booing. You get booed even worse.
That's true. That also woke him and Lindor up. So
yeah,
I don't know what to think about that team.
He swung at a 50-foot changeup. He got hurt. He complained about the fans, and now he's the best trade deadline acquisition in baseball, and it's all for nothing.
I remember
Yep.
way back in 1999 when the Mets were good, but could not get past the Braves worth a damn.
No.
And it was frustrating as hell to the Met fans.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember Chipper Jones, who named one of his kids Shea because he used to tee off there.
He loved Shea, yes.
Loved to play at Shea, and loved to rub it in too. But he once said, man, these fans, it was right after the Braves had beaten them again. It's like, yeah, we'll wait till the Yankees get you in the World Series. So first of all, we got to get there. And second of all, they shouldn't be traitors like that. I loved it. It was a great line.
Yeah.
Actually, I had it on the digicard at the station, played that over and over again. Chipper was great. They also had John Rocker, who complained about the Met fans letting him have it. He said, I don't know how many times you got to be a team to silence the fans. Every time he taunted the fans got worse.
Yeah.
I remember one time, John Rocker liked to run from the bullpen to the mound whenever he came in. At Shea, he had to. I remember one time seeing him on camera. I mean, I'm in the stadium. I watch him on the screen because you can't really see these things. It's too far away when you're up in the press box. And I see somebody threw a toy bat at him. You know those toy bats you get in concessions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see objects flying, and he's dodging them. It's fans shouldn't be doing that. For Rocker, you could have made an exception.
Yeah.
Because he was so offensive. Everybody just hated him. And when he was good, he mowed the Mets down. But as is typical of closers not named Mariano Rivera, he was a flash in the pan for a few years, and that was it. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's you have to be wild and inconsistent to be a closer. Like you can't it's a weird, like, and almost illogical way of building a team. But if your closer doesn't,
Yankees did take care of the World Series.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They're great irony, but not the Mets. The gentlemen swept the Mets. It was kind of
the Mets were dead in the water, 3-0 in the LCS.
Yeah,
and then they won 2 more games.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah.
They were about to push it to a Game 7. They were about to do what the Red Sox did 5 years later.
Yeah, I think that's about where it ends for playoffs. And
Kenny
New York
Rogers walked in the winning run. And that was the last pitch he threw as a Met.
That's where it ends for, I think, New York sports and playoffs. Because the Mets are already out, and the way these Giants and Jets are starting, I don't see either of these teams making anywhere close to playoffs.
I don't see the Jets winning a game.
It's hard, especially this season where it's 17 games, you know.
So I know they might run into one, but okay, first of all, I'm so glad that I was on the broadcast 3 or 4 weeks ago before the season, so that way I could predict the Jets go 0-17, because I did predict that, and I'm glad that's on video now, because when they do go 0-17, I want the show to begin at 10 p.m. with just a little 5-second recording clip of me saying the Jets will go 0-17.
Put it on repeat.
That's how the show should begin on January 10th or whatever day that will be after the NFL season ends. Anyway, Zach Wilson is a victim. He is. He's a victim.
Oh, absolutely.
He's not. It's not as egregious as Sam Darnold.
That's true.
And it's funny how a lot of people don't understand how time will tell, right? Because time is telling. Time is ranting right now. Time is showing us. Father Time is going on a diatribe right now, showing us why Sam Darnold was not the issue and why Zach Wilson is not the solution. I mean, Do you really?
Yeah.
I know it's 3 games. I know it's 3 games, but do you really need to see more to make that judgment call?
Honestly, it's indicative of something we've all known. I think everyone, at least in New York, knows, and New Jersey, and maybe across America, with the exception of Jets management, which is that
Pennsylvania.
this team just is not a proper football team. It just doesn't function like a normal team, and they have so many holes and issues on both ends that instead of trying to fix it, they try to put tape over it and hope that it holds, and clearly it never does.
No, I know. It's putting duct tape over.
It's like it's like they saw that 2010-2011 run with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez and Ro Rivas, and they decided, you know what? We're going to do absolutely nothing that we did there to make it to the AFC game and do the exact opposite. And that's how this football team's been run ever since.
It may have been on this show that I said, I can't remember. I talk about the Darnold Jets, Zach Wilson situation so much, 24/7, 365 now, being that it's relevant because football season is, in full swing.
It's in full swing now.
I talk about it so much that I forget where I say things, but I may have said this on this show. If Darnold were the quarterback of the 2010 team, if Darnold were the quarterback of the 2009 team, those teams would have won the Super Bowl. Both years they would have beat the Saints because they could
that way sometime.
The Jets had the best offensive line in the NFL. Left to right, it was DeBrickashaw, Ferguson, Alan Faneca, who's in the Hall of Fame, Nick Mangold, who will be in the Hall of Fame, Brandon Moore, and Damian Woody. That was 2009, and then 2010, the only difference was Matt Slauson, who was also a very good left guard, was playing in place of Alan Faneca, who was gone.
Yep.
Slight downgrade.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
11 years later, look at them now.
Oh
6
my
yards
God.
in the first quarter, -3 net passing yards against the Denver Broncos today to start off the game.
I picked up a shift. I may have said this earlier. I picked up a shift today to avoid watching the game, but I followed it. Okay, and I watched. I watched.
Guys,
what's up?
I'm looking at the highlights for the game we avoided watching because we were watching baseball.
Which game was that?
Niners Packers.
God.
Oh yeah, no, it was.
Yeah.
It's so sad
Niners,
because
Packers.
again, there were so many good games today that we're gonna talk about in a few minutes. Okay, the LA Chargers upsetting Kansas City.
Oh my God!
Cincinnati upsetting Pittsburgh. That Niners game where the Niners came back down 27 points and Aaron Rodgers still put on a game-winning drive, no time after 40 seconds left. Those are all so much better than what we got in New York.
Yeah,
it's so
Seahawks
frustrating.
set by the Vikings.
It's nothing new from the past few seasons.
No, I mean,
I will say this.
Go ahead.
They came very close to the Green Bay Packers getting killed by the officials. Okay.
Sure.
That's right.
There
Yeah,
was a helmet contact that they showed. There was a pass interference that they showed just short of the end zone. Green Bay should have won this game going away, and they barely eked it out. But you want to know what it tells me? Remember week 1 with Aaron Rodgers. Everybody thought he was done.
I didn't.
Yeah. That game was a disaster. That game
doesn't get
was
worse
a
than
Jet game
that in most cases.
And these past 2 weeks, he's back to being Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I knew he would be. I wasn't
looking bad week 1.
Matt, wink, wink.
What?
Who was again that predicted Aaron Rodgers will be hosting Jeopardy full time 6? Who was that again?
That was me.
In trouble. Oh, it was you. Oh, yes, that's right. It was you.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well,
and
fortunately,
today's show late.
They can rattle off a whole season of Jeopardy in an off season.
Yeah.
So, a couple of months of work covers him for the year, so he can still do it
that far off
as an active player.
True.
Anyway, so yeah, but no, Ken.
It's just so sad again, just because there's so much good football today, and
Ravens Lions ended with NFL record long field goal that hit off the crossbar and went in to win the game. The Chargers upset the Chiefs on the road in Kansas City. Justin Fields made his first NFL start and they netted 1 passing yard. That's a huge story. The Vikings upset the Seahawks big time for their first win of the year. The Rams upset the Bucks and blew them out, by the way. It was a 10-point game, but that was a garbage time touchdown that made it a 10-point game. They blew out the GOAT and the Bucks. Matthew Stafford really showing that he was
this Rams team
Detroit NFC could have been great.
They have NFC conference written all over them. This Rams team, so much talent everywhere. Ramsey,
down. Oh yeah,
Higbee.
Offense and defense both might be the best in the NFL. The Jets are going to go 0-17. The Rams have a chance to go 17-0. I don't think either will happen because I think it's too hard to pull both off.
And just think that roster-wise, these two teams were identical last year, and the Jets upset the Rams.
Right. Well, they had a franchise quarterback playing for them that day, so it's a little different. And just to keep going, the Raiders were down 14-0, came all the way back to tie, forced overtime, took the lead. Dolphins retied it, and then they kicked a walk-off field goal to win. Okay, just again, Bengals blow out the Steelers, dominate them on the road. And then, of course, the Sunday Night Football game that none of us were able to watch. The Saints dominate the Patriots in New England. So 49 out of the 50 states are in good moods today, just on that note, right?
Absolutely. Now, think about this.
And then there's just the New York Jets and the New York Giants.
You know what that means?
I would say 48 because New Jersey also owns them. They're getting the share of blame for this one. Matt.
What that means...
Yeah, you're right. Good point, Ken. I didn't even think about it.
What that means is that NFL Sunday ticket sales in the New York area should go up because we're not the only ones thinking about this. Now, of course, if you're in a sports bar and you have multiple screens, all you have to do is turn your head. But if you're home, you're going to upgrade your subscription to NFL Sunday tickets so you can watch anything but the Jets and the Giants, and we're back to the 1970s again. The malaise era continues because the football is that bad.
I'm sorry, man. I can't. This has to be worse than that era, right? The Jets have 20 points through 3 games. They're the lowest team in the NFL.
The Jets have 2 touchdowns in 3 games, and they were both the first game when losing 19-0, 16-0.
Go to YouTube and do a search on the fumble. Not the butt fumble, just the fumble.
No, I understand the fumble, but the Giants had a winning record at that time. At least some point, right? They haven't had a winning record since 2017.
They're the only team in the NFL
not to have a winning
from 1970 to 82.
Well, interesting fact about the Giants. The Giants have the worst record in the NFL since 2017, and in 2017 there was a team with 0 wins.
That's right. Yeah, they're 18-49. They're about to get their 50th loss against the Saints next week.
And the Jets are going to overlap them, by the way. They are. They are right there. I think the Jets might be number 2 now. Are they number 2 or is Jacksonville number 2?
I think Jacksonville still.
And Jacksonville had a 10-win season in 2017. So that's actually even more of an indictment.
It got so bad for the Giants. Okay, in 78 or so, because it was they won their last had their last shot at an NFL championship in 63. They got to the championship game and lost. But somebody rented an airplane with a banner on the end of it said, 15 years of lousy football, we've had enough. And they still had a few more years left to go before it started to turn.
Well, they didn't know that at the time.
What made it turn was Pete Rozelle, then commissioner, telling Wellington Mara to hire George Young as general manager, basically ordering him to do it because Rozelle was God back then.
Not that I was alive, but I really do think that league commissioners have to start doing stuff like that again.
I agree.
Well, league commissioners do.
Well,
I'll give you another one.
When David Stern nixed to the Chris Paul trade, that was great. Okay, I remember.
I still.
What was it? 2010 when Bud Selig forced the Dodgers owner to sell the team, and the Dodgers have been the best team in baseball since then. Like, it never goes wrong. I'm serious. It has to start happening.
Especially for the Jets.
Roger Goodell has to go up to Woody Johnson and say,
and John Mara.
You need to take every first-round pick and give it to Carolina, bring Sam Darnold back. Just do that.
I was going to say just
make Mike Anderson happy. That's all.
Hire somebody decent as a GM.
Yeah.
Find the next George Young and say, fix the Jets. Because I will say this. The NFL survived just fine without a franchise in LA. Now it has two. But they always wanted one back there. The NFL does not like having bad teams in New York for too long.
No. And
big market in general, but especially New York. Mike.
Yeah. Oh, dear God. I mean, the fact that Buffalo is New York's team. Like, they have no business, by the way, like, being in the NFL. The playoff drought that was despicable. Losing 4 Super Bowls in a row, then transitioning to an era where they didn't make the playoffs for 18 years. Okay, so they don't even belong.
Had their own Malaise era.
They should just keep going farther north until they reach Canada. They're New York. Like, what an indictment on the Jets and the Giants. And just another fun factoid: the AFC East during the Belichick-Brady era was so bad, the Jets are still the second best team in the AFC East since the 21st century began. In terms of playoff appearances, I don't know what win percentage says. Probably not, but
probably last.
Yeah. No, you know what? No,
well,
I'm not.
None of the other AFC teams.
They probably are second in win
teams
percentage.
have been any good. Look at the Dolphins.
Yeah.
The Dolphins have been just as much an exercise in futility as the Jets. The only team
and the Bills
good coming out of the division has been the Patriots.
The Bills were a laughingstock.
Oh yeah, the Josh Allen, man, he has flipped the script entirely. He is going off.
We had
a Josh Allen, unbelievable game today. 4 touchdowns and a rushing one, 358 yards, 30 passes
against Washington. If you do that against Washington's defense, it's convincing.
Oh yes.
So I'd say he figured it out because his first 2 games were reminiscent of his first 2 years where he couldn't throw a football. So
yeah, it's sad because in New York you want to see that with quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, the Giants, especially with Daniel Jones, who honestly has had 2 pretty good games.
I think so too. I really do think he's.
I really didn't see a Giants loss where Daniel Jones isn't to blame. No. He's had 2 turnover-less games now, which is probably the longest streak he has in his career, which isn't great. But I mean, he's actually been moving the offense. It's just like Stony Brook, they can't finish.
No,
so you're either at the red zone and you're not scoring, or you're playing conservative and you should be going for it on 4th downs and you're losing possessions.
Ken, don't say like Stony Brook because there were so many issues with Stony Brook. Like you could just
there are a lot of issues.
And like Stony Brook, they have no.
The Giants. Honestly, the Giants should be 2-1. This is 2 50-50 games where they could have won. They just needed a field goal, or it's really just needed a defensive stop, but they couldn't get it. When it mattered most, there were at least 3 times they could have had game-winning interceptions just to seal the game. One went Logan Ryan's way. Another, I think, was I forget who. But I think it was Tay Crowder, but. They just drops everywhere and just giving Matt Ryan and the Falcons so many chances. They were up 14-7 at the start of the 4th quarter, and they ended up getting outscored 10-0 to end the game.
No, and this should be mentioned too. There is a silver lining to the Giants. At least they should be 2-1, right? That means that they're not far away, and they do have a talented roster. Remember what I was saying about them before the season.
That's where it ends because they're about to go 0-5. Okay, they're not beating the Saints. The Cowboys have looked leagues above, and we saw the Rams did to the Buccaneers. I don't see the Giants pulling the Jets upset like last year. Well, maybe the Panthers before they have a shot at winning.
No.
And their reward after that, they're going to get spanked by Patrick Mahomes, an angry Patrick Mahomes, after going under 500 for the first time in his career.
Sam Darnold returning to MetLife Stadium. He's either going to see ghosts or he's going to throw for 600 yards.
There are no ghosts haunting that. All the ghosts are in New York. Really,
I bet on the latter.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I would bet on him just picking them apart.
Yeah, honestly, I do too, and that's sad because this was supposed to be a good defense, but they flat out suck. Okay, they just like Martinez too, so it's only going to get worse losing your best tackle.
There's 14 games left. Okay, so they've been in 2 out of the 3 games they've played.
Here's the thing, though: it's not just a player issue. It goes down to coaching as well. This team has been so wasteful when it comes to timeouts. And times where you could use them later in the game, they have to use them to avoid taking a delay of game, or they challenge and lose, or Jason Garrett has Kadarius Toney maybe 3 times on the field. That's it. I mean, Giants were down to 4th and 5th string receivers already in game 3 because Sterling Shepard got hurt. You know, how is this team going to be able to, get 5-6 wins like the past couple seasons when you're already on your 5th string receivers in week 3?
Well, look, at least there is a good sign. It's not confirmed yet, right? But the good sign, and I don't believe that he can win a Super Bowl, but a good sign is that you don't have a problem at quarterback. Maybe you don't have
not yet. Again, it's still week 3. For all we know, the next 3 weeks, he can go 10 for 100.
Yes.
And fumble the ball again, or keep targeting Evan Ingram, who God knows why he's on this team. When the only way he gets cheered is for when he leaves the field after fumbling again in his return. Thanks a lot for that.
I saw a GoFundMe was started, and it's deport Evan Ingram.
Honestly, it's incredible that how much the league respects the guy who has no right getting the praise he does when everyone in New York knows what's up. But to the rest of the league, Evan Ingram is a franchise star somehow. Yeah, I'd love to see that Evan Ingram.
Pro Bowl year. It was unreal.
Exactly.
Every year he's like 85 in Madden. It's crazy.
Pro Bowl by his peers, by the way. He was voted in by fellow players, Matt.
Look, many times I've seen this over the years that the player's opinion of a certain guy versus the fans' opinion of him are often different things. One of my favorite examples was I even asked a couple of contemporaries of his about this. Back in the 1980s, if you asked players who had the best curveball in baseball, you would say it was a guy named Rod Scurry. Who's Rod Scurry? He was with the Yankees for a little while, mostly a middle reliever. But then I mentioned Rod Scurry, and a couple of guys say, "Oh my God, he had a great curveball." So I said, "What happened to him?" He got caught up in drugs. He's dead now, unfortunately. But
shame.
You get the idea that you'll hear of guys that they'll say, "This guy could throw better than anybody. This guy could hit better than anybody. This guy could run better than anybody," and they don't amount to anything. So players' opinions, you always have to take with that little grain of salt. It's interesting because of what they see. Obviously, they're much closer. They see interesting things. But then you say, how come he's not coming up in the stats? How come he's not making big plays? How come he's not doing this? And it's just, it doesn't compute, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what they see in Evan Ingram, because not only do I not see it, a lot of Giants fans don't see it either.
I think it's because
what else bothers me?
Go ahead,
8
Matt.
penalties.
Yeah, that's right.
8 penalties.
8 is
start killed them against Washington, and what did the Bills do to Washington today?
Yeah, well, the Bills are a good team though. Like the Bills are in the AFC Championship last year. The Giants were 6-10 last year.
Both these New York teams, just wrapped in the New York talk. Both these teams need a complete retool, and I mean that from management all the way down. Just the systems in place ain't working, and doesn't matter how many times you try to put a Band-Aid on it by getting different players to fit in. It's just clear the system ain't working. You got to follow what works, like we saw in Kansas City or Tampa. Maybe not today, but I just mean overall, or Los Angeles. And just honestly, just get a clue. Get people in charge who know and actually know, what's going on, rather than people who keep having to lie to themselves that they know what's going on.
Look at the Mets. Look how hard it is to find good front office people.
I include them in too. That's true. That's true.
Look
Thank
how
God
hard it is.
Alder's leaving next season.
But I'll tell you something else. As much maligned as Cashman has been this past season, his track record over the past 20 years, no losing seasons. Actually, this year's their 30th straight losing season, non-losing season. Okay, so playoff appearances, of course, didn't win it all. But find me another general manager that has, because not even Theo Epstein. Epstein won 3 with Boston, 1 with Chicago, okay?
2 with Boston, 1 with Chicago.
Would love to see Theo Epstein take over either one of these franchises.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But
Good for the Mets.
the Yankees would be silly to move on
Theo
from
Epstein, Billy Beane. Somebody actually read Billy Beane out there. Did anybody see Moneyball? He turned down the Red Sox.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's at the very end of the movie.
It's in the final scene of the movie.
Yeah, wow. That's I at first I didn't understand what you were referencing, but yeah. But yeah, so in essence the Jets suck.
Billy Beane is possible GM of the Mets, yeah.
But in essence,
I wish. In our dreams, maybe.
The Mets suck, the Jets suck, the Yankees have life, and the Giants
also suck. Football is struggling.
Yeah.
Cover all our bases, I think.
Right.
Tough time being a New York fan.
Both Stony Brook soccer teams are
hockey.
good, and yeah.
We do. Hey, the Isles preseason game, they look good. Rangers didn't look great.
We got basketball.
The Isles ran their starters out. Yeah.
The Nets and the Knicks look good.
That's a first, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we have things to look forward to. As the weather cools down, don't forget the football, we'll watch basketball and hockey.
Yeah, only to take our mind.
I'm down for that.
And, of course, Stony Brook basketball, both men and women.
Right, high expectations for Stony Brook's men's team.
And women's team to try a three-peat.
Yeah. So, despite football, despite the malaise era in New York football, and, of course, the Seawolves, their troubles, and we do have to cover them, and we will. And, of course, that game is going to be this coming Saturday at Rhode Island. And that will be an 11:45 a.m. start unless somebody's bus breaks down. So that's going to do it here on the sports section. Many thanks to Ken Furman and Mike Anderson. I'm Matt Mankiewicz. Zach Wilson will see possibly on Saturday, too. We don't know. But in the meantime, have a great sports week, everyone.